All right, looks like we're live. We are good to go. So, welcome everybody. We are going to stream our engineering syncs for the first time. I proposed this idea, and I guess I probably forced it just because I love the conversations that we have. Pretty hardcore, like Web3 dev, and a little bit philosophical. So, I figured it might be, handy to actually do that in front of the community and let them learn and see what we're doing, and also understand the philosophy of like why we're building the things we do, building things we build. So anyway, hey Andrew, hey Asif, how you guys doing?
Hey, Jeremy.
Okay,
Doing pretty good.
coming
How about
through.
you?
Okay, I'm good. Uh, I think Patrick's on his way. He just messaged me. Hey, hello, Amy and Delia. We got some fans on the live stream already, which is fantastic. So you guys can totally comment live, and we will be able to respond and answer questions in real time. Today on our agenda, we're going to kind of go through what our current state is when it comes to the Genesis Pog Pack drop. And we can kind of go through the checklist and talk through where what our status is. And then if we got a bit of extra time as well, I was thinking we could pull up some of the updated specs for the actual Pog ledger, because I feel like we might want to go through that and make sure we're all on the same page, because there's a bit of work being done on the UX and design side. I've made some proposals for getting Leyline onto the ledger, and just want to make sure that the specs are reflecting what we've got so far, built out on the code. So I think those two topics are probably what we could try to tackle today. Does that work? Anything else we might want to cover?
Nope, that sounds great to me. I think you're gonna be pleased. We have a lot in there. So
Yeah, Asif, what do you think?
Yeah, that's fine for now. Hi guys. Yeah.
All right, cool. Hey, Philip, how come you're on YouTube? You're supposed to be in this meeting. uh, Philip is like a key piece of this group here. Anyway, I'm going to start to share my screen, and I hope I can do this correctly here. Let me know if you guys can see my screen. By the way, Asif, did you want to put up an NFT profile pic for yourself?
Not right now. I'll take time.
All right. All right. Let me know if you guys can see my screen. Is that coming through?
And by the way, Jeremy, I wasn't actually aware we're doing this.
Oh man, my bad. I thought I messaged that on Slack and everything like that, but
All good,
sorry.
all good.
But don't worry, man. The community's gonna love you and all the brilliance you bring into the discussion. All right, so yeah, basically where we're at today. So unfortunately, Jonathan, our full stack engineer, had a death in the family, so he'll be out for the week and probably back Monday. But I recommended he just take as much time as he needs, which means unfortunately we're gonna have to delay the drop for the Genesis packs, and I think we're going to do a shift at 1 week where we do our deploy day next Wednesday, and then we do the actual drop party next Friday. So I think it's our tentative schedule, and we'll kind of stick through with that. But I guess just want to do a quick. Oh, so Patrick's not here just yet, so I'm gonna.
Yes, I am.
Oh, there you are. Yes, Patrick. Hey, I didn't even see you.
Sorry, I was just figuring out this new interface. StreamYard.
Yeah, no.
Never used it before. Looks great.
Yeah. Sorry to introduce more random change to you guys, but it's an experiment. So yeah, actually, Patrick, how are things looking on the smart contract side? Any new updates?
Smart contract side, things are looking really good. There's been a lot of feedback and iteration end of last week and then early this week. So I feel pretty good about the state of it. That said, haven't got a full review from OSIP yet, and we don't have the testing fully going yet. So that's really the big blocker for us deploying, besides the backend integration. So we've done a ton of work as far as making the sub collections configurable and should be usable for future use cases like the upgradable NFTs. the auction stuff, which is dropping after. So yeah, so fairly solid on that, short of testing and backend integration and review.
Gotcha. And actually, were we able to get you some Matic as well? Did Shahul hook you up here?
Oh no, I'll ping him. That's an easy thing. I can go get my own too. That's just a small thing. I haven't been focusing on the tasks for actual deployment of the contract. So that's coming up next. Well, I'll probably shift gears to pick up some of the backend integration work. So I'll probably put that on hold again till we can get that going.
I see. Okay. So yeah, some of these items here that Jonathan's working on, you'll probably
Yeah,
okay.
that's really the bulk of it, is taking his current branch, getting it integrated with Web3 and Ethers, and getting the current state of the contracts and getting that code calling into the contract.
Okay, got it. And so far these things we haven't been able to close out any of these just yet, right?
He made a bunch of progress on the backend UI. I don't think this is necessarily correct. Eligible user spreadsheet admin panel. Like I think he got the spreadsheet thing done, but I'll have to check the state of the code and verify that.
Got it. Okay, cool. And just a quick scroll up here. Andrew, was there anything else on your side, smart contract wise, that you got left to do or need some help with or are roadblocked?
No, I have a little bit left to do. Pat made a bunch of great changes, just have to write a ton of tests for it. I have 3 or 4 small things. We can either circle back later. I'll do it offline with Pat. It could either be something in the code isn't working properly, or I'm just not testing the correct way. So I have 3 or 4 small items, and then have a couple of more tests to do. But by the end of the day tomorrow, should have that done.
All right, cool. Sounds good. By the way, Jeff, I don't know if we could do a stream where it's like showing the avatars and a screen share, because I think on YouTube it's only showing that. Anyway, just a minor thing, Jeff, on display. And then on front end UX, well, we don't have Robert here, but I think that they are, well, they're not the bottleneck right now, so I think we're fine even if we push it out to next week. All right. Okay. Well, anyway, we'll set our new target date to next Wednesday. Deploy smart contract, and then Friday we do the drop. And I think we're probably already shifted marketing communications in that direction. Actually, Jeff, is that accurate? Since you're here, you can actually speak to all the marketing stuff. Jeff, you want to come up on stage?
Sure thing. Yeah. If you wouldn't mind actually just reiterating the question, because I'm looking through the comments here and there's some of the good ones, some return visitors also. Hey, Rar, how's it going? Good morning.
Oh yeah, just wanted to check. So we're rescheduling the auto deploys to next Wednesday, next Friday. Have we updated all of our communications accordingly at this point?
At this point, yes. Yeah. So the only sensitive communications were surrounding this week, and everything has been adjusted to that effect. We're all on par for next Friday. All systems nominal.
All right, cool. Okay, well, given that, I guess we could spend a bit of the time we've got together. I wanted to go through a couple of the latest specs that we have for the POG ledger. So at the last DAO Hall, we went through this proposal for the first Oracle nomination, which was Leyline. And what I wanted to check with you guys is, from what I understand, we've already made some progress on building out some of the smart contract logic for the actual ledger. Is that correct, or am I mistaken?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, we have a fair bit of progress on that. I'd call it definitely in still kind of an alpha/beta state since we switched over to the NFTs. But that said, I actually don't think we're that far away from having the core of the ledger, at least, and the ERC20 stuff, so that it can be used to quote buy things.
Okay. All right. Cool. So what I figured is we could walk through a few of the use cases that are listed out for MVP, just to kind of sanity check that I'm not off base here. And then related to that, the type of data points we probably want included or at least captured there. And then UX teams like starting to put together a few ideas and basic like UI. So it's a good chance for us to kind of catch some early or get some early feedback on the engineering side, if that's useful for you guys.
Yeah, definitely sounds good.
Okay, sweet. All right, so here's what I've listed out as the key use cases. So the first one is a volunteer want to connect my MetaMask to the proof of good to the website, and then basically, well, Angel Protocol is going to be one of the upcoming POG oracles, but for now it'll be Leyline. So that's pretty straightforward. Because Angel Protocol is using Terra, there is a scenario where we potentially would want to connect the Terra wallet here. So this is a question to you guys. If an oracle has their specific IDs with a different wallet, not MetaMask, is that something that we'd want to support on proofofgood.io, or do we want a different way for like the verifications to come into play? Any thoughts there? I'm sure I'm probably freaking you guys out right now with the Terra wallet.
Is Terra Wallet not compatible with MetaMask? Like it's a totally separate plugin, etc.
I think so. Yeah, it's another browser extension.
Well, the question is more on which blockchain it is, not which wallet it is. So if it's different addresses, then I assume they're on a different blockchain. Yeah. So then we'd have to jump through a few hoops to connect that.
I see. Well, you know what? For now, let's talk to the Angel Protocol team separately, but let's not include this in the MVP just to keep things simple. That works. So yeah,
okay. Yeah, and to be clear, the current proof of good ledger is an ERC 721 token that is linked to the that is minted to a wallet address, or supposedly.
And we're using mainly the main aspect here is we're using the Polygon blockchain, and while we could easily or somewhat manageably easily jump through a few hoops to support other Ethereum compatible blockchains where the wallet addresses can actually be the same. Using totally different blockchains, that's going to be hard at this point.
Got it. Okay. All right, duly noted. And then for the moment, to keep things simple, we'll defer those types of use cases for a later stage, just so we can get our proof of concept in place. And let's see here. So one use case is for the actual volunteers. So, basically our Leyline users, for them to be able to go to the website and then see the exact donations that they've done as a record. Then.
Yep. Sorry. Already there's work there. While we have the basics of the smart contract in place, we haven't done any work to build the scripts to transfer the existing Firebase database onto the chain. So that's going to be a fair bit of work. We did capture that a while ago in the work breakdown structure, but that's a fair bit of work.
Okay, got it. And that would specifically be like this one here is we have an entire data migration effort. Right? Okay, got it.
Data migration and sync.
Okay, cool. I can see that being a bit of a doozy. All right. So aside from the historical stuff, this would also be based off new good points that are earned. So you want to be able to see all those good points that you've earned, and then the good points are going to be these kind of attestations, which I'll show in the UI in a mockup. Then there's the other component, which is how do we make this easy for the actual oracles to plug in and write to the ledger? So the concept here is that we basically provide them an API that they can just send data over to and record those, donations. Does that make sense?
That's already actually in the work breakdown structure. That will be a fairly simple addition once we have the sync process in place.
Okay, fantastic. And that's kind of like a private API where we would supply specific to the oracles, here's your key or ID or something like that.
Yeah, that would probably just be a server's credential that we supply them that's supported fully through OAuth 2 on Firebase.
Okay.
So to clarify, that's basically a centralized approach that we're taking in the beginning. And at a later stage, this can go directly to the blockchain where they would actually use their blockchain connection and accounts, but that would be a later phase.
Okay. I think that makes sense. Is there any reason we
Yep.
wouldn't want to go Web3 like from the get-go, or is it?
I think we're still discussing the details around that.
Okay, got it. Yeah, because there's one concept which is, at some point we'd probably have like an NFT specific for oracles. So it's like, POG oracles get their unique NFT membership identity to the DAO and whatnot, and that is what we would use to give them the airdrops each month, and then it's also like the signifier for them to be able to access the API, something cool like that. That's just one thought I had, not something we have to do right away, but that could be part of how the oracles function. What do you think?
I think we'll have to discuss that in more detail. If we're trying to scale and have arbitrary number of oracles signing up, then it's almost kind of getting into the DAO stuff. So yeah, if it's just like create a simple credential or allow certain addresses to write to the proof of good blockchain, that's one thing. But then if we're building additional functionality around it, then that's another.
Got it. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So yeah, Web 2 for now, and then later on we go Web 3.
Yeah. I mean, whether they're writing it directly to the blockchain or through an API, either of those are actually probably pretty simple. It's just anything we're building on top of that is currently not captured.
Okay, understood. All right, next use case is for the oracles to be able to go to proofofgood.io and then query all the attestations that they specifically wrote to the ledger. Then we need admin tool functionality, so that way we at least have in our team the ability to kind of manage entities.
Sorry, on number 5, did you see that as APIs or something else? Because they can read that directly off the Polygon chain.
I would say it's much more off the Polygon chain. And I guess what I was imagining is that when we have the website live, let's say that, I'm Angel Protocol, they'd be able to just kind of filter down to their specific Oracle ID, and then they can just pull up, here's everything that this Oracle has written to the ledger. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah. So we'd be you want to build a custom block explorer for that then?
Right. So I think
or transaction explorer.
Yeah, I think we basically would have something like the Transaction Explorer the ledger. I think in its base form is really going to be kind of a Transaction Explorer. We could build other kind of new, cool, fancy UI after the fact, but this is kind of the baseline source of truth. That's kind of what I'm imagining. So that would be on the website proofofgood.io, and you'd say let's say you go to proofofgood.io, and then you hit the menu item that says see the POG ledger, and then you click on the ledger, and you're now going to be literally seeing good deeds happening in real time, or just see all the records of that.
Yes, and we could filter by categories and also by organizations that put them in.
Yeah.
And we could, the question is if we want to show this, but of course we can also click individual users and see their points. So for that we could build a simple UI that just kind of looks at the ledger directly, and something like this actually.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think this is what the UX team they're just getting started to
oh yeah, that's totally in scope that we can do something like this.
All right, sweet. And let's see what else I got here.
And a bit separately, we can also show some statistics, whereas those would have to be collected off chain, but we can also show some statistics. That would be nice.
Yeah, completely. And and that's what we were slowly starting to implement, on Leyline, for example, So, with Leyline, we had established like leaderboards, and then on your profile, you could also see the good point score. So if you take a look, here you go, leaderboards. It's the whole idea of like, if good points becomes a big part of your identity, status is like an important thing in a metaverse. So here's like all the people that have earned the most good points. And you can filter it down to like categories like health or economic governance, yada, yada, yada. You could further gamify that by like having monthly rewards and, contests and stuff like that. So I think there's a lot we could do after the data set is available. And then similarly, having your profile to represent, those specific achievements in your identity. So you'd have like statistics on, specific charities and causes that you've supported, achievements, badges, etc. That's what I think this could evolve into. But really starting off as just the basic, here's the raw data. And I think what's beautiful about just having the raw data available is that any web app or any DApp could also just refer straight to the ledger, and any game or whatever could actually render the data as they see fit. What do you think?
Okay.
Yeah, sure. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Are we proposing? Do we know if there's some open source? I don't think like Etherscan is open source, that we would fork that, or is this something we'd be building from the ground up?
Oh, we can build that from scratch. That's nothing hard here.
All right. Well, if OSIP's sure, then
I believe in you. All right. So yeah, then there's basically being able to have like an admin tool. And, one of the things I had here about components was that we're probably going to, over time, add some additional metadata, potentially around the social, like about the Oracle. Or if we're adding new oracles, because, the grand vision here is that we're probably going to be getting tens of thousands of oracles on board onto the protocol. So we probably need some kind of manual admin tool where we can add an oracle, mark them as dormant, or like if they've been voted out by the DAO, a way to disable a specific oracle versus like having to do it all through code. So I think having some kind of basic admin console is going to be key for the MVP. What do you think?
That should be fairly simple to do. Let's definitely make sure to capture those requirements in the ledger and DAO requirements. Because yeah, if we're trying to actually put that validation, verification, and data on chain, that just means we need to do some of that at least before we deploy the ledger itself.
Got in terms of like the kind of the categories or the attributes?
So we already have on-chain configuration of categories and types. We don't have any organization stuff on chain currently.
Oh, I see.
Yes, okay. I think we need data structure for the organizations, but we also need probably user roles. So those things, always keep in mind, we do have to specify a lot of that beforehand, even if we're not going to use it until later, because once the contracts are deployed, they're deployed and we can't change certain things. Other stuff can be added with additional contracts outside of the core contract, but some stuff has to be in there. So if we have different types of user roles, for example, then we have to plan for that beforehand. And also keep in mind, certain voting, maybe the DAO can control something that would directly control the ledger without an admin having to actually do it, but that's probably a later phase. However, we do have to kind of think ahead and make sure those mechanisms can be actually implemented.
Right. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Because I do think, and Philip will probably be going through the DAO hall today. One mechanism would certainly be, hey, we're going to nominate a charity to become an oracle. If it gets voted in by the DAO, that could potentially automatically bring them onto the protocol
Definitely. So that's
yeah.
definitely a mechanism that seems like that could be easily automated, that the DAO vote directly enables oracles, but also kicks them out or blocks them or restricts access or something like that.
Right. Okay, cool. So yeah, I'll get these use cases as well into the backlog or into the roadmap. So we got that captured. Okay, great call there. Okay, so final one I have is, as a public user, I want to be able to view good points awarded and their details. So there is potentially, like, for example, with Leyline. Oh shoot, you can't see this. Let me share my whole screen here. Show. See if I can do entire screen. Okay, is my whole screen showing up here? I think it is.
Not yet. Oh no. Yes.
All right. Okay, cool. So on Leyline, for example, one of the criteria of attestations will actually be, validated Discord submissions. So is it possible that we'd be able to include the actual Discord post or assets into the ledger? What are your thoughts there? As like
we can link to it, so we can link to the individual items. We do have to think about granularity, though. Like an individual Discord post seems very fine granular, so you'd have thousands of them.
Mhm.
We do want to see that we're going to building up a lot of data, and that's great, but we do have to kind of limit sizes at certain aspects. But yes, I assume we can direct. I don't know if there's a URL to an individual Discord post.
Yeah.
We can include URLs to individual activities.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
The ledger does currently have a field to store URI of just arbitrary metadata. We should definitely create standards around that. Like, those URIs we should probably ensure are on some, persistent mechanism like IPFS, so they don't disappear. It'll need, to be a JSON format, for example, for, computer readability, not just, random image or something like that. Similar to an NFT.
Yeah, and we could have some metadata field. We have to actually go into the details of that, where we might have the type of what it is on chain, and then we know this link is actually kind of just an image or something like that. And another one is a JSON structure where we can get more data from.
Okay, yeah, that would definitely improve the usability for writers to the chain.
Right, because I think we're lining up a bunch of partnerships, and one example is there's this like whole TikTok community of 100,000 content creators, and then they have these campaigns for proving good like via video, and if there's a way we're able to reference to each of those, that's great. So I think the URI handles that, and it's a question of whether or not we want to be able to embed direct media into the 721s, but probably not for now.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't think that makes sense. External reference would be the right way to go. And thinking through it more, I think it would be nice if everything were on IPFS or something else. But the reality of videos is that you're going to put it on YouTube, and the link's probably going to be a YouTube link, right? So I think as long as we have standards for that, and we're not just allowing arbitrary linking, we can create some basic, as you say, metadata for each, and ensure that it's validated, ensure it's correct and full.
And the idea about having it kind of somewhat typed is that a viewer interface can kind of look at the type field and then render the right thing. So it could be just a URL to a video on YouTube, but you need a little bit of embed code so that a YouTube video specifically renders a bit different than a video that is just an MP3 file. And that makes it a lot easier for clients to show this nicely.
Yeah, I like that.
Yep, good. Or, for example, a Discord post or something.
I love it. Fantastic. Okay, cool. So yeah, this image here just kind of kind of explains the mechanisms, where essentially we're going to have any number of POG oracles writing directly to the API. It gets written onto the ledger. When that happens, it's actually going to award the good points to that user. So it does bring up the question of how are we going to be managing, IDs and accounts on the ledger, and do we also need the oracles to have some kind of mapping? Because when they're writing that attestation, it's got to map to a MetaMask wallet. Is that correct? And
Yes.
is that work we got to do with every single oracle for them to do a setup or like some kind of connection page, landing page? I was curious,
Do you mean for the Oracle or for their users?
For their users. Because like we essentially need to be able to link an account between the Oracle's account system and then the POG ledger. So
yeah, I think we haven't worked out the details there, and which part of that is interactive in the sense that the user can scan a QR code with his wallet or something like that, or in which cases it's more like an Excel sheet from the organization being dumped into our system, and then there needs to be a mapping. So I think those, and that's actually part of the reason why we assume there might be a centralized API for stuff where maybe certain mappings aren't actually available. So I feel this isn't fully worked out yet. But there are definitely the different options here. One option would be, for example, that the end user has like a wallet on his phone and they just scan a QR code of the organization's event. So it's a bit like the proof of attendance. Oh, you're just writing it exactly. Flow, where the end user's MetaMask wallet is directly connected to this. And then there's other organizations where the organization has like kind of old school lists of people and stuff. And there we have to see how they can map that to blockchain addresses.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, it all needs to come down to an address, right? So the question is, what is that address and what makes sense for those users, right?
And it might be that we, for certain clients, for certain organizations, that we have a mapping between email address and MetaMask wallets because they just aren't flexible enough to change all their workflows, and they just give us names or email addresses or something like that. And that would be another reason why it might be helpful to have a centralized API, like a Web 2 interface, because not all oracles are possibly ready to, go through the technology hoops to integrate their system onto the blockchain.
Yeah, that's true. I think that the proportion might be like 60-40. 60% are going to be Web3, like fluent, and then the rest are going to be like literally operating off of spreadsheets. This is great actually. All these options. I think in the specific case of the MVP would be Leyline. So let's say if we took Leyline as an example, I was thinking one pathway would be, in Leyline under my account, we do have, connections to various apps. So one could be connect my account to the POG ledger. Like right now we're connecting to Boink, we're connecting to Discord, but maybe one other connection would be connecting to proofofgood.io. And then on the proof of good side, on Firebase, we're mapping the Leyline account to the MetaMask wallet that's logged in here. Does that make sense? Like,
it does, and that makes sense, except for we're going to have to do that, and we're going to have to force every user through that flow in order to transfer the current proof of good on chain.
Right. Yeah. So it's inevitable for all the Leyline users.
Or we're going to have like similar to that option D there, some kind of like escrowed address, which then the user can claim because it's in their account and like heal up or something later. That's
right.
I guess is probably how we're going to have to do it. Because
I'm pretty sure that's what's actually going to happen, and it's not such a big drama. But in terms of the structure, yes, we're probably going to have to, because we want to have migration point, and at that point we'd want to have a wallet address for every user, and we're just not going to have that if they have to do that manually.
Yeah, and maybe to say it a different way, Jeremy, like we need a wallet address for every user in the system, period, right? Whether it's like an escrowed address or the user has associated that beforehand. That's the fundamental requirement for getting the data on chain.
Yeah.
And to clarify, by escrow means we generate an address and we just store it in our database, and the user doesn't actually have it yet. And then when they want to claim it, they would actually either get the secret from us, or they would probably better generate a new wallet, and we have to swap out those addresses and stuff. So there's a bit of a workflow, but that's all doable.
Okay. Yeah, so I think we can also work with UX to get that workflow together. And I'm imagining it's kind of like an account linking page or like an account management page to activate all those connections.
Totally.
Okay. Great.
Yeah, I'd actually do like Leyline as kind of the first user. It's in a way the same exact problem that existing oracles, coming onto the protocol are going to have with all of their users. So we'll need all the same infrastructure for Leyline as we would for all those oracles.
Yeah, completely. And Leyline is doing the manual verifications too, so it's like we're already handling all those use cases.
Yeah.
So it does solve a lot of or it forces us to solve those problems first. Okay, cool. I think so. Those are the main use cases. And before I move on, I think there might have been some questions or comments popping up on a YouTube chat. Jeff, is there any highlights we should try to address coming from the community?
Well, let's answer Amy's question first. Is an app for that? There will be, not yet, but
yes, there will be. Thank you for the question, Amy.
We got an NFG in the house.
What's up, NFG? What's up, Steven?
And encouraging everybody to come to the DAO Hall in 15 minutes also. Let's see. How about from Crypto Guru?
Will other companies' projects give out good points in the future? Yeah, realistically, everybody that gives out good points are going to be oracles. So, ultimately, the oracles are going to be other DAOs, charities, social impact orgs, academic institutions, NGOs. So really, we are not the ones actually giving out good points. It's like all the oracles that do it. So fundamentally, it'll definitely be other companies and groups.
Okay, let's see. Any other questions inside? Not within our YouTube. All right. This has been brilliant. I just love listening to the engineering talk. I understand about 1/10 of what you're saying, but it's compelling every single time.
I just love hearing Pat and Austin's voice. It's so pleasing.
Yep. So that one came up earlier also.
Oh, there you go. Look at that.
I think we had this one also. Yep.
I'm actually laughing at this. I just read that myself. I
don't know if you saw this one earlier. I didn't want to interrupt you, but
you're going to be our biggest influencer, Asif. I think. Celebrity. Okay, cool. But yeah, thanks. Yeah, feel free to keep throwing out the questions, guys. We'll try to address them. The second thing is going to walk through. You probably saw this, but this is the proposal to onboard Leyline, and so essentially we've got our first sets of use cases that'll generate good points. So one will be the Discord posts, which I showed, and then basically, as you can see here, there's two additional metadata attributes. One is the actual the action or the good deed itself. The other is the category for the proof of good. And then the third is the UN SDG category. So this is kind of like, it's become this like kind of benchmark heuristic for most NGOs to align towards, the sustainable development goals put together by the UN. And that's things like no poverty, sustainable energy, quality education. You can see them all right here. So that was the thinking, is that each one of these attestations at the minimum would need the action name, the category and then the UNSCG category. And then we have some manual data that we'd be inputting. So I think Leyline would actually need some way to report this specific data that is currently being manually collected. And, for example, we've got this on Google spreadsheets here, all the volunteer logs for everybody that's volunteering for the Leyline community. And by the way, everybody listening, as you volunteer for Leyline, you'll get rewarded for those hours in good points and exclusive NFTs. So if y'all want to help out, feel free. We'll get you rewarded. And the third one is we are also hosting like educational and coaching workshops. So those would get rewards. We're enabling people to donate to the prize pool in a mystery box. So on Leyline, we're working with fundraising and donors. So our prize pool has like got different prizes coming in from various sponsors and donors. So we're basically going to say, hey, if you want to donate $1,000 to the mystery box, which would be part of the randomized prizes, you'll get a good point for each dollar worth of those donations. That's the other use case here. Then there's just manual submission. So we accept, any randomized donation receipt or proof of that. Our mods and our POG validators review and approve it, and then they grant the points manually through our admin tool on Leyline. So those are the key use cases that Leyline, or the first sets of good deeds that Leyline will be the Oracle and then record that too. Any red flags here, gotchas, or points of clarification?
We do just have a question from Gnarly Mob out here on YouTube who wants to know who decides what oracles you work with. I think some of that might have been covered, but just to address their question.
Yeah, great question. Actually, the DAO will decide what oracles we work with. So as a decentralized autonomous organization, the entire community, all of our NFT holders will actually nominate each oracle through the DAO governance. All of our token holders and NFT holders vote yay or nay, and it's really our team's responsibility to nominate the right organizations that we partner with, give a good justification, and explain what exactly they're doing. So what we're seeing here is like a form of that proposal, which we'll end up putting onto Discourse, which is the kind of governance forum tool. So it's really the DAO that decides. And the DAO also decides whether an oracle needs to be removed from the protocol. So if someone's like messing up and doing the wrong thing or just stealing all the money and paying their CEO, the DAO has the power to say, okay, we're submitting a proposal and saying this organization needs to be removed because they're totally breaking the system here. So it's very much self-correcting and self-governing. Good question. Thank you. So yeah, guys, so given the use cases we walked through and how we're planning on implementing, does all this stuff kind of fit in the model? Any concerns around how we've set this up? Testing. Did I lose you guys?
No, I can still hear you, Jeremy. No, all good from
Okay.
my perspective. Yep.
Looks like we lost Pat and Austin.
No, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Sorry.
I just blew your mind. All right. Okay. Got it. But yeah, all sound good. All like implementable. No surprises, I hope. I'm going to take that as yes.
Yes.
All right. Whew. Okay. So I think that's like the main stuff we want to go through. So we can kind of wrap up in a few minutes. But yeah, this last piece was just kind of giving a preview. So big shout out to our UX volunteers, Christine, Henry, Michael. They've been working on some ideation around how we want to actually render the ledger. So I think come next week, we'll probably be at a state where we can kind of have those guys walk through a bit of their vision. And, there's the most basic piece of the ledger, but then how do we want to like start to gamify that and, tell this epic story around who you are, the good you've done, and make it awesome. So that's it. Just giving a bit of a preview there. And, it was useful to just understand like, our baseline here is the ledger being a straightforward set of data, and then we can get fancy from there. All right, I think that's it. Anything else you guys want to cover before we call it an evening? Call it a show?
Not from my side. I think we're pretty good here.
All right, Patrick.
Just
Andrew.
wanted to say I'm excited.
Yeah, we're doing it. There's a lot of building to do, but we're gonna make it happen. And hopefully we're gonna have Jonathan back for next week. Everyone, please send some love his way. He lost his father this week, which is truly tragic situation. So, Jonathan, if you're listening, we love you, man. We miss you, and hope you and your family are all right. All right, so I'll see y'all in 8 minutes for the DAO Hall, which Philip is going to be our guest host to run the workshop and talk about DAO governance. Philip, we're excited to see what you got.
Yeah, look forward to that. Thank you, everyone. Good work.
All right, bye, guys. See ya.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Jeremy. Bye.
Bye.